Hey, this is an advice video for Reddit user whitetanksss. Subject being, how do I stop getting angry about my past? And he writes, people have told me to forgive and just move on, but it's so hard. I've gotten better, but sometimes something reminds me of it and I get angry all over again. How do I move on from something that still affects me? I used to be confident and overall a good spirited person, and then when I was betrayed, my confidence went straight to shit. And I'm such an angry and bitter person now. I hate it so much and I want to move on, but I don't know how. Whew. Thanks for posting. So that's tough. A couple things. My first thing I want to say is thank you for posting and for being brave enough to kind of share a little bit of your world and how you're hurting and what you need help with, and for caring to get help. There's a lot of people out there who have gotten hurt and are angry and bitter, and they don't care. They're happy. Well, they're probably not happy to be that way. They're miserable being that way, but they're so in that zone that they don't care about getting better. And so, not to stroke your ego, but I just want to applaud you for being the type of person that can look at his world and say, okay, like you're looking at it head on, and that's critically important. And you decided, I want to get better. And I think that's big, and I don't think you should minimize it or dismiss it. The second thing I want to say is, just so you know, I mean, take what I'm going to post here with a grain of sand. Or a grain of salt, I think is a saying. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a guy who likes making these videos. I do it because I think it's a little more personal than just writing you a 3-page response or a 3-paragraph response. And sometimes that helps when you're going through something, just to have somebody's ugly face to look at. and anyways, I'm just basically trying to help. So I don't know what you've been through, and it's really easy, I think, for people to kind of look at somebody that's been through something, some kind of betrayal, and just to say, well, eventually when they get tired of hearing about it, just to say, well, get over it. And that's not helpful, and I hope no one said that to you, but I think there's a couple things to consider. First of all, what you're feeling is what you're feeling. Okay, don't beat yourself up for your emotions. Maybe they're not the healthiest, but you have limited control of what emotions you feel. So you can't. It's really hard to just choose to not be upset about something, and then if you live with that, that's kind of like poison for your soul. That's gonna drag you down. That's gonna make you bitter. What's the wording that you use here? Angry and bitter. You're not the confident and good-spirited person you used to be. It's really hard. But it's good that you recognize that too, because that's actually really key. So I don't know if you're holding a grudge or if you're just kind of in trauma from the shock of what's happened to you. If you're holding a grudge, I would say consider the adage that holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. Whoever betrayed you, they've moved on to some significant degree. Maybe they don't care, and I think I'm pretty confident that they don't, if they're the type of person to betray you. I don't know that whole relationship, and I don't want to take too many liberties, but just understand that you sitting with that and choosing to sit with that isn't making them feel worse. And even if it is, it's never going to make them feel as bad as it's going to make you feel. So understanding that you have license to just let go and walk away and that you don't need to get back with them by being miserable. Sometimes that helps. Just put the poison down, and know that if you continue drinking it, you're the one that's gonna hurt. It's not gonna hurt them. Um, Alternatively, maybe this is something that actually that shocked you, um, that really kind of hurt you so bad that it gave you maybe a form of PTSD if you can't get over it. And if you, I mean, a lot of people have heard of PTSD. It's not necessarily when something crazy traumatic happens to you, like you've been in a gunfight or you've been stabbed or something. It's not necessarily something like that. It's when you're confronted with basically with evil. It just shocks you. So that could be something that's violent, or it could be something like a deep emotional betrayal. That could potentially be it. And the best way to handle that is head on, is to look at the situation and understand that there are people in this world that are like that, and that people have the capacity to be like that, and that you need to be the type of person who can recognize that and not be naive to it, and be able to live in that environment without becoming cynical. So that's kind of saying a lot, and that's not especially helpful. But think about it this way: if that's what happened to you, then there's a part of your brain that's constantly beating you up about how could you have been so foolish as to let that happen to you. And until you have an answer for that that's satisfying, that part's not going to be quiet. And so you need to kind of create that worldview, or piece together that worldview of like, well, what kind of world do I live in? Because you didn't know before. You didn't know that this person was capable of betraying you like that. And that's sad, because it sounds like this person was close to you and really hurt you. And I'm really sorry to hear that. I mean, genuinely. I mean, I don't know you, but I'm sorry to hear that, because that sucks. So if that's what's going on, then you need to think about the reality that you live in, because clearly something happened that was so unexpected that it hurt you so deeply that voice is continually demanding an answer to how could you let that happen to you, and what are we going to do about it next time. And you got to be really careful how you answer that question. You have two different ways you could go down. You could become really cynical, which is what I think you're seeing yourself start becoming, hence the bitterness and the anger and not being good spirited any longer. So you could go down that path and be really guarded and really cynical, or you could go down the other path where you're like, okay, I get that these things happen, and that people like this exist, and I get that in the future I'm going to let people in my life and they're going to have the capacity to hurt me badly. So what do? Well, maybe I'm a little more careful about the people I let in my life, and a little more careful about the people I trust. But maybe I just understand that, it's worth the gamble, and that you're potentially gonna get married, and your spouse could cheat on you, and that's gonna break your heart. But it's that's the risk you take for living life. Life is not free of tragedy and pain. It's a terrible analogy, but it comes to mind because we had an old dog. But it's like adopting an old dog. Our dog was 12 when we got her. Her name was Scout. She's just this. She looked like she was like half German Shepherd and half Husky, and she was just a teddy bear of a dog. She's super cute. And my wife said, Bogdan, if we get this dog, she's just gonna break our hearts. And I said, yeah, but it's worth it. And it was. We only had her for just over 2 years. She's a big breed, so she went pretty quickly. And it broke my heart. I was so surprised actually how bad it hurt. Because when we had to put her down, like I cried like a little girl. I've got a 2-year-old daughter who I think I cried harder than she's ever cried. It took me back. But that's kind of what comes to mind. It's just that sometimes to live, to love, you just got to be willing to take that risk to understand you're going to be hurt, and not let yourself get too cynical about that. So I don't know if it helps. I don't know very much about what you've been through, what actually happened to you. You're more than welcome to write me back on Reddit, to post on YouTube. I'll see your comment. I'll talk to you about it. And and the other thing I wanted to say is I don't know how long ago this happened. It seems like it's been some time ago. But give yourself a break and don't be too hard on yourself and give yourself some time. There's some practical things that'll help too. Journaling about your feelings. If you really feel like this is getting out of hand, or you feel like you're hurting, and struggling with this, don't even let it get out of hand. But feel free to talk to if you're in school, talk to your school counselor. If you're not, maybe through your health services, your health insurance you can see a counselor. And even if that's not the case, then maybe you can see maybe you can find some counselors that are affordable, or would even be willing to see you a couple times for free. If you go to a church, talk to your pastor about it, or see if they have anybody they can recommend you to. Don't let yourself sit with this. Don't let it eat away at you. I really hope this helps a little bit at least. And I hope you have a good day, and I hope you get better. And thank you for posting again. To everybody that's watching this, if you like kind of the advice videos, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification button for the next one. Thank you all so much, and hope you guys have a great week.